How's it going, everyone? Wait a little bit for some people to join, and we'll jump into the topics today. So, Jonathan, what recap for the week? What did you hit spend goals? Did you buy some good inventory? I know there's some sales happening today, at least Leap Day. There's some good sales. Did you spend a lot? Did you focus on spending, or did you do other things?
It's funny. I'm really big on, I think a spend goal logically makes a lot of sense. And I've kind of got to a point that it's just like, um, I don't focus on it and it typically kind of falls into place. But something just recently, it's funny. It's like, I really want to get back to that because I find that I'm a little bit short of where I could be. And if I have the skill set in the capital and that amount allotted, I don't want to leave it on the table. Just to give some numbers, I was thinking if you leave 5 grand spend a month on the table, which 5 grand sounds like a lot over the course of 30 days, when you're spending 40, 50K, like it's easy. So to not hit it, that's an extra 60K a year at 30% ROI. Even, we're talking 18 grand, which really adds up, obviously. So
Yep, big time.
all that to say, I think I'm doing I'm finding a lot of stuff. I'm just hitting a point where it's like I've been around long enough that like when I see a good opportunity now, I can go a lot deeper with confidence. So like I'm understanding you don't need the quantity game as much as the quality. I shouldn't say quantity game. I don't have to go as wide. I can go a lot deeper and achieve the same results, if not better, because I've put in so many reps and I've gone through those product cycles so many times. What about you? How was your week?
Yeah, it was good. I'm consistent on my spend this week. That was my main focus with the Leap Day sale. I think I had some stuff on Monday that I was purchasing that was off of sales. So yeah, it's been good. It's been a good week for me spending
Yeah.
wise. Got a shipment out today that was really small, but just some really cheap items I didn't want to send to the prep center, and then the prep center got a shipment out today as well. So
Yeah.
next week should be some good inventory getting checked in. My check-in times have been speedy. I don't know about if you've had the same experience, but it's been almost like to the week. It's like
Yeah.
I'll ship stuff Thursday, get a shipment out. The next Thursday, I'm getting a bunch of emails saying stuff's getting checked in.
You know what's funny? It's that I always think about this. Like I'm very confident of like of how I am a good Amazon seller and I do a lot of things well. But like there's so many things that I know I could get better at. Like I don't even pay attention to that. I truly don't. I am on top of my repricing and when I see new things, you know what I mean? And for better or worse, because I mean there's really nothing you could do anyway, right? Um, but yeah, there's a lot of things I'm like, I don't do that. And that's one of them. I never check-in times, and not for better or worse, So that's funny though. But I am on top of my repricing. So like nothing is not being repriced once it's live.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just get the emails, so that's really all I'm
Yeah.
going off of. But I know, like, okay, I basically try to get a shipment out every Thursday if I
Yeah.
have enough units, and then my prep center does the same. So we're on the same
Yeah.
schedule. So if something's checking in, it's always from the week prior. Usually,
Yeah.
I'm not really going in and tracking, which shipment IDs for what when it was sent, but I just know, like, oh, good stuff's checking in on the weekly. So
Yeah. Yeah.
those for
I
consistent sales.
Yeah, no, speaking of, like, I'm such an advocate. We've talked about, like, I think for a lot of people, it pays to prep and pack yourself. A lot of items, like you mentioned, cheap, you want to get out quick, different reasons. I've really been leaning into utilizing my mom, who's one of my preppers in Florida, and I have a new prep center that I've been really enjoying. And I'm trying to, unless I absolutely no doubt or makes sense to send to me because it's maybe really time sensitive. I've even overnighted something to my prep center and been like, I'll pay the extra $10 and have them knock it out, then me do it. And I will say for the first time, I see the benefits of outsourcing more prep. You know what I mean? Like I had to I still did a box this week and I was like, it was mainly all these returns I had to go through. And I'm just like, I'd rather be sourcing or doing something else, but so I'm
Yep.
definitely transitioning, but I'm 4 years in finally, right? It's not like I rushed it. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Miguel, thanks for watching from Puerto Rico. That's exciting. Is Puerto Rico Eastern Standard? I think it is. Or maybe it's,
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it is. Miguel says, my shipments to IND4 are receiving super slow. I think IND4, not AST. Gotcha. IND4, I think in the past I've had semi-slower check-in times from there, but I think they are taking like shoes and maybe some bulkier items, if I'm not mistaken. So that could be it. Or maybe that's like a hub for FC transfer. Like it's kind of centrally
Yeah.
located. That's the place where everything goes and then gets dispersed from there. So that could be it too. Armand, thanks for joining. Well, we're enough into this to, I guess, announce the topic. So this week, the goal is to talk about the keels regating. We're going to maybe, I know we talked about that with Clinique, one of our first episodes, but it doesn't hurt to revisit that kind of stuff because we're going to see that probably more and more in certain beauty brands, especially under the L'Oreal umbrella. So, it's good to talk about and understand like how we can not let that affect the business, especially if you were selling a lot of keels. I've sold plenty in the past, so we'll definitely talk about how we can pivot, what our thoughts are on that, and how we're not going to let it affect our bottom line on the business. And then we'll get into some AI talk, how AI might benefit the Amazon space, or if we're even using AI currently. And then if you guys at any point have any questions just in general about Amazon, selling on Amazon, Jonathan and I both have been selling for over 3 years, 4 years, you said. So, we can answer basically any questions you might have, beginner or intermediate questions. So with that, I guess we can jump in. You can start with whatever you want, Jonathan. But again, if you guys have questions, drop them below. We'll answer them as we go.
Yeah. So a couple of things crossed my mind. I know we talked about Clinique. Same thing with Keels, though. First off, let me ask you, like, why do you think this is happening? Do you have an opinion on why this stuff is happening?
My guess is that there's too much counterfeit product out there and too many counterfeit sellers or sellers from, they're getting product from China that's replica, but it's not quite the same quality. They're getting a lot of returns or a lot of bad reviews on Amazon, and that's potentially hurting the brand image. So they want to remove any of that. Because obviously if Kiehl's is producing it and they know it's quality, then there shouldn't be any issues there, right, from their side. But if you're getting a bunch of, I know like there was a big point in on Walmart where some third-party sellers from China were selling Drunk Elephant, and it was clearly like not, their storefronts were like 80 characters, and it was not good quality. And I think Kiehl's is similar, and I have a feeling that there have been a lot of, maybe it's like not even like recently, it's just always been like that, where there's plenty of good reviews of the quality of the product, but then you look at the 1-star reviews and it's just a lot of people saying this is not the, this is like way liquidier than a lotion should be, or whatever it is, where the quality is at risk. So they probably want to clean that up. And I'm curious to know, like, so on these brands that resellers buy a lot of, like, they're probably getting, I'd like to know what chunk of their revenue from their own websites and stuff is from, third party, like resellers buying their product and then reselling it. Because I mean, you think about it, like you're buying like a Clinique or a Kiehl's, and maybe you're going $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 deep when sales are happening. I mean, they're getting a lot of revenue from probably a lot of sellers. So that's just an interest. I'm sure, like, whatever, they're going to keep selling on Amazon, and they're going to have the Ultas and the other, they're going to wholesale to a bunch of different stores. But it's kind of interesting because there are a lot of sellers, third party, selling that kind of stuff. So is that going to affect their numbers at all, or will they notice now the drop off in all of the third party sellers buying bulk stuff? Because
that's true.
Most people are buying $20 worth of stuff, 50. I mean, we're buying $500,000, $600,000, $800,000. So
yeah.
Interesting there. What are your thoughts on like why they're doing that with Kiehl's?
Yeah, honestly, your guess is as good as mine. That makes sense, everything you're saying. All I can think of is, like, I think of maybe the brand wants to protect their brand, like, if people are receiving Kiehl's product and it's not authentic, for instance, well, then people associate a shitty product with Kiehl's, for instance, right? So I don't know if it's as much as, I mean, I'm sure Amazon, like you said, I'm sure it's a combination of things. Because yeah, I mean, if they're letting people buy, $500, like they know what the deal is, they have to. No, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
no,
Yep.
no one person is buying $600 worth of one product. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The
Like,
one singular. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So, and I've always, yeah, I don't know. So, but anyway, at least my thoughts on it, and I've talked about this with Clinique as well. Uh, and I'll kind of go two directions here. For one, it's interesting because something that I'm really bullish on is becoming an expert in certain brands or giving yourself a competitive advantage. Like, I think some people would be surprised, but I mean, I probably at any given time have, I don't know, 20, 30 different brands that I'm selling. But I would say that 5 brands make up 80% of my catalog at any given time. And when you're first starting off, I think it's really important to just test everything, right? But like for me, once I got a taste of a couple brands I was having repeated success with, I would become an expert in it. I mean, like on one site, I'd literally manually source every single product, every variation, become an expert in this beauty brand, right? And then 3 years later, or 2 years later, now with that brand, like I know every item that's on its way to being discontinued. I can tell when this product's heading out of stock, which color of blush is like, more in
Yeah.
demand.
Fast
And
selling
like,
variation. Yeah. Yeah.
it's such a competitive advantage, not just on the brand products, but the sites that carry them. Some only carry certain sizes and some have deals. So like there's such an advantage. But on the flip side, if you put too much into that, like Keels, it can go away tomorrow. But then, contrarily, the thing I would say to this is everyone is like, I think the value in becoming an expert is something I will never stop doing, but I will always make time and save room to find new products, new brands, new ideas, because I also know this could happen at any given time. And I will say, if you are good at sourcing and you have the skill set to become an expert in one brand, you have the skill set to be an expert in any brand. It just has to maybe take time and stuff. And so, like, I think there's a fine line of becoming an expert, but always making sure you're introducing, again, new products, categories, sites. I always try to make time in my day. And it's one of the reasons I still like to check out Leads List, is because not because I think they're going to make me rich, but they're vetted sites and brands and categories, which can steer me in a different direction. So that's kind of my initial thought on like just my approach to like how married to a brand you should be.
Yep. And to kind of dive into that a little further, the part about being an expert in a couple brands, that there's really, again, if you're not making that your entire catalog, like there's plenty of storefronts out there that sell Nike and Stanley's, right? You've seen those storefronts. Not that I think anything's going to happen to Nike or Stanley's, but it's just not, to me, it's not super sustainable business practice. Like you can be an expert in certain brands. So then when you do see the sales, right, you know exactly which products to look at, like last time this chart show, we were at this seller count, like I know I can find this profitably, whatever it is. But I think the becoming an expert in a couple different brands is only going to help you when you do introduce new brands to the catalog, because it's more like becoming an expert in the brand is showing you, yeah, which websites are running sales and everything, but also helps you understand like the sales history of that specific product, right? You're seeing like, okay, I know this product I've sold 50 of these in the past. Now the price kind of tanked a little bit because a bunch of sellers jumped on the listing. I sold my stock out. And then, a lot of people, when that happens, especially newer sellers, they just forget about that product. They say, okay, it tanked on me, I'm never looking at this again. not realizing that once the sellers drop off, that price will probably creep back up. Like maybe it will take 3 to 6 months, but it will happen again. So if you are able to understand that, recognize that, and that's, I mean, it's only going to help you. And then when you see, like, right, if you introduce a new brand and it's going to have similar sales cycles where, you see the offer count go up, the price goes down. You see the offer count drop off, price goes up. Pay attention to sales rank, how it fluctuates depending if it's like a seasonal product or whatever it is, right? Like sweatshirts obviously do better from October to March, and, summer clothing changes as well. So you'll just start to see charts no matter what the brand is, and you'll maybe not necessarily be the expert, but you'll be able to understand it better than you would if you didn't really dive into every aspect of a brand. So my thought on like, yeah, going too deep on like one brand, it can definitely be risky. Just, I mean, for obvious reasons. There's just, yeah, I mean, if you have too many units, like I'm sure there's plenty of Kiehl's sellers right now that have hundreds of units, and yeah, you have until like April to sell out. But what happens when this ban happens? I think a lot of listings will tank because everybody panics, right? And they want to sell out of their stock tomorrow, so they're not involved with Kiehl's.
Yeah.
And then, it's a lot of those sellers that do have a ton in stock. Well, maybe do you think I was gonna, I mean, it's a good time to ask you now. Do you think some of those Kiehl's listings will tank now, but then maybe in like 2-3 weeks, the sellers that do have more stock, once you see those offer counts go from 40 down to 13, 15,
yeah,
now the price will shoot back up, and then basically till they run out of stock or till the the regate happens, those sellers can kind of sell it whatever they want, because all the newer sellers that got scared, they sold out right away at a loss or break even, and you're kind of held out. Or is that too risky to be holding out on that?
Well, I think it comes back to, are you an expert, right? So like, I wouldn't say I'm an expert in Kiehl's. I always found with Kiehl's, everyone kind of knew of when buy one, get one frees were going on and stuff. So like, it was a notorious brand for me that always would tank after sales. So the only things I really seeked were their out of stock items and hard to get items. And there was one product in particular that was always out of stock. I found it back in stock recently, and this is a good example. Like, I wouldn't do this in the early days, but I a couple months ago, it was out of stock. I bought it, then it went out of stock again, and like, so I didn't drop my price. I let people sell out, and I saw what happened, and I did really well. So this time I said, okay, it's coming back. There's no way of knowing how much comes back, but I'm going to buy a lot. My worst case is like break even. My best case is like 100% ROI. I probably have like 80 units, and it's like a $25 bottle of something that I bought, trying to sell for like typically around $50. So what I'm going to do, to give you some like, because I've thought about this too, I'm going to let the people, I assume a lot of people are going to panic or just want to offload, right? Or don't have the experience. I know when supply and demand with this product's at the right time, it flies. Okay.
Yep.
So I know that's in my back pocket. And so I know I have a little bit of time. So my whole game plan is I'm going to wait like two weeks or so, see what's going on with the seller count, the price, whatever. And then if push comes to shove, I'll just sell it at what I have to once we get closer to the deadline. Yep. I know the demand's there, but I think, yeah, absolutely right. I think what's going to happen, you're going to have people right away with Kiehl's in general selling, more experienced people, experienced with the brand holding. But then also some people, even if they're experienced, if they have a ton of quantity, they're going to want to offload it too. So,
yeah. And it's not going to be every listing too. I mean, we can say this and the experience will help. I think some listings, just based on the nature of this regate, aren't going to react how, you think it will normally. Like, oh, the offer count goes down and price is going to shoot back up. I think there's going to be listings where there's just so much stock in circulation that the price may just stay down until the regate, just because, people need to get rid of their stock. Because basically what they said is they're going to, create a removal order the day that the ban happens. And then whatever units you have, you got to kind of eat. And by then I would assume most people that purchase from Kiehl's or Macy's or Kohl's, wherever they're buying their Kiehl's, is too late to return. So it's kind of like you're stuck with a lot of these units. You can sell them on eBay, but probably for a major discount. So
Yeah. I, something I'd like to know would be pretty ballsy is like if someone's willing to wait it out and saying Amazon's not going to create a removal order right that day. So maybe they're giving themselves like a week cushion, you know what I mean, or something like that. Now, I personally don't want to play that game, but
me neither.
that'd be funny if, like, again, though, maybe someone's gone through this before and they're like, oh, actually, Amazon takes 2 weeks to actually
Yeah.
act out on that. You know what I mean? To create a buffer. So
And I never followed through with any Clinique listings. Do you know, are the listings just out of stock, and that because whatever, there's no stock? Because a lot of these Kiehl's listings, Amazon is not on. Like, it's not a brand. Will Amazon take over? Will Kiehl's start selling themselves, or will a lot of these listings just go to Infinity Rank because there's no stock anymore?
yeah, that's a good question. I don't know, but like we were talking about, I mean, I feel like Amazon has to make up a nice chunk of business for this brand, like, or these brand. I guess not direct sales through it, but like all the resellers, and I feel like they have to be in the know of that. It's
My guess is they're going to either have a brand, like their brand
yeah,
direct now, and they're their only source. It's going to make, yeah, if that's the case, Amazon is going to make way more money than third party, just because
yeah,
there's so many fast selling Keels listings. Like, that is, I mean, I'll admit, I did a lot of research on Keels over the last couple of years, because there has been some really good sales at times, and
sure,
um, stuff like that. So yeah, there's some really good listings. So if Amazon takes over one of one sellers, it's gonna be a good product for them. So I'm sure they're happy about it if they're involved. If not, I can't imagine Keels won't be selling on Amazon ever, because there's just so much
right,
demand there. So I don't know, but
totally,
guess we'll see. Let's go to the chat quick. We
yeah.
have quick question: do you guys create claims for FBA returns? Like, if the product is not what they returned, or I guess for me, actually, it's funny. I just got a return, or it's unfulfillable item right after a return, and it was supposed to be, let's see, a Nike pair of shorts, and it was a random brand XL T-shirt. So I will be creating a claim for that one. Yep, yep. So in that case, yeah, you can create claims if the product is not what it says on the removal slip. Obviously, you want to create a claim there, tie it back to the order of who ordered that number. That little slip you have is going to help you. That comes with it, and then it'll trace you back to the order. You can create a claim, and obviously get your money back on the product that wasn't what it actually was.
That's funny you say that. We were talking about this earlier. That's one of those things that I'm such a fool for not doing. I shouldn't say so many things returned. I either just, if they're properly returned, I resell them on Amazon. If they're a little beat up, a different site. And then, I would say, like, of my returns, maybe 5% are BS like that. And I just like eat it. And like, it's so foolish. But and this part of me is like, it's not worth it. But is it a quick process? Like, should I be doing
Yeah,
that?
you
Okay.
should. It's really easy. You create I think you just create a ticket, and you
Yeah.
say, here's the order number, or here's the product it should be. You send photos of the slip and the product that's clearly not what it says it is.
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy. Yeah, it's literally like takes you, yeah, like I said, like 2
That's
minutes to
so
open the
funny.
claim.
The timing's interesting because Kona Reselling, I follow her. I know you do too because you've had her on.
Yep, yep.
She just posted about that, and so I'm going to absolutely start implementing that. And does Amazon like negatively affect these buyers, because it's like such a scum move,
It really is. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like, do buyers have reviews? Like, they should get honestly, if they do that kind of stuff, they should
Oh
put like
yeah,
a 30-day ban from them on their account of them not being able to purchase items, because
yeah,
that is like one of the lowest things you can do, like to like get a free item. And clearly, like, there's ways to, like we said, to put claims. So like,
yeah.
maybe they don't, I don't know how Amazon does it. Do they just eat that cost and pay you what you're supposed to get for that, for what you paid for it, or do they charge the
Good
seller?
question.
or the buyer, I mean.
I bet they just eat it. If I had to guess, you know what I mean? Like,
Probably. It's just too many
but
extra steps to have to reach back out to the buyer,
yeah,
all that stuff. But Armand says 650
yeah.
bucks back after doing it. So yeah, I think it's if you have enough of them, I mean, it's just do you
I'm gonna
keep those
start
little
doing
like
that.
return slips? Do you keep those little return slips? I don't. That's
Yeah,
the only thing is like when you get a product back, and if you just have it sitting there and it's obviously not the product, makes it 10 times harder to like try to pin it back to like what the original item was supposed to be. But if you have the little
yeah.
slip, it makes it real easy.
Okay.
Let's Stephanie, thanks for joining. Hey guys, good to see you here. Miguel, quick blast on the kills things. A lot of bad kills listings, pictures and descriptions. There are, but there are also a lot of good ones too, where it's basically stock photos plus the title of exactly what it is. So it could be some of that, But I mean, Keels wants to clean up some things. I'm sure that's with every beauty brand. There's definitely going to be, the fake products that are going to, I think Stanley's went through that for a bit, where it was like people were selling products from China that didn't even have the Stanley logo on it, and some of those listings would get taken down, and a lot of people had stock. So I think that's why Amazon has the one or two main listings. You see a couple like loose ones that are like 30K rank, whatever, but you see the one Stanley listing that's got every variation, every size of the tumblers, and it's the number one selling in the home and kitchen category. So yeah, I don't think Keels is doing something like that, but like I said, there's just they're probably trying to eliminate some of the bad odds and ends of the brand. So
Yeah.
what is an average monthly sales online arbitrage with 20K capital?
It all depends a little bit, but if I had to just give out a general number, 2x your spend.
Yep, that's what I was
So
going to say.
40,
On
40K.
average, can be more, can be less, but if you're spending 20K on inventory, you hope to at least see 40K in revenue.
Right.
Jonathan, are you having any problems with Inventory Lab since 3 Colts took over?
Nope. It's been par for the course for me thus far. Knock on wood.
They did have an issue with it was some like bug that popped up, and it was, I guess, giving error messages when you try to add products to your shipment. But I did my shipment today. I didn't have any issues, but I know there has been some issues. We could see some bugs with the transfer. I think it like I said, the 3 Colts thing just happened like within the last 2 weeks, I think. So I'm sure there's going to be, some merger that's going to have to transfer, some parts of the software. So we might see some bugs here and there, but hopefully the 3 Colts team has some top dog, software guys that'll make sure nothing really happens. So, all right. I think we answered all the questions in the chat. Maybe we want to talk about AI.
Yeah. So, last week we saw somebody made a comment and just kind of suggesting AI as a topic. And,
I can read. Let me read the question quick, just
awesome.
so they get the full gist. It's a pretty good question here.
Yeah.
Is what does the future landscape look like for resellers as AI becomes more prominent within the tech world? I understand repricers are already incorporating it into their platforms, but what about sourcing? I imagine AI could be more efficient and could replace or at least augment some grinding process. What do you guys think? And have you heard of any innovators looking at ways to tap into AI's power of sourcing? That would be a crazy tool, and I hope somebody makes it.
So I've thought about this because in my head, as much as we all want to be online arbitrage sellers forever, I'm like, how just as an everyday consumer, is there not something that just tells you here is the cheapest price of that product, right? And somebody I spoke to in software told me that basically, I think, don't hold me to this, but it kind of makes sense when you think about it, that retailers won't give away information that's needed for their sites and their stock and their to be like scraped. And it kind of makes sense to me like that, because if not, then it just becomes a race to the bottom unless you have such better customer service or some competitive advantage. You know what I mean? So like on one end, maybe it's wishful thinking. I don't think that there'll ever be a day because of that it's just you're able to have the information to say, here's the one place where you can get it the cheapest of all of them in the world, which seems like we should be able to do that if you think about it. And I say we loosely, not me, but like
Yeah.
information out there. I will say this, that aside, I think there's going to be a lot of tools that can make an OA seller life better. And like any tool that's AI or not, tactical arbitrage, seller amp, whatever, if you know how to use something appropriately, you can gain a competitive advantage. But I think the tool just in of itself will never be enough. It's as long as OA is a thing, I think that there's going to be a human element. I'll say something I recently dabbled with. It's called Visual Ping. I don't know if it's .io or whatever. And I just did it's free. Basically what you can do is, I took like a screenshot. It takes like a screenshot capture of a site. Like for instance, I can go to a site that says out of stock, capture that, and then it'll notify me when that image changes. Okay. So maybe it changed because it went from out of stock to in stock. So now I can be notified first on something that's out of stock. So like that's a tool I have to figure out a little bit, but that's like a good example of like, instead of me normally having to click on go to the site manually to look at, is this item back in stock, or getting, because by the way, I sign up for email notifications all the time when something's back in stock. I might get it like 1% of the time. So that's another way of doing that. But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of handy dandy tools out there. But I do think that for the reason I originally mentioned, or another reason, again, I don't see there being marketplace if it's just, here's the one-stop shop for your best price. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, I don't think the market is built for, like, there's just so much competition in other ways than price too. And I think that's like, even people, like, even if they could find the best price, like most people choose Amazon because they know they're going to get the product in 2 days or less. They know the customer service and the returns are very easy to deal with, and it's amazing. So maybe they are willing to pay, $30 for something here when, there's a one-time site-wide sale on Nike where they could get it cheaper, but it might take 8-9 days to get it. Like some people, I mean, there's just a pretty high demand for that,
Yes.
what's the word, whatever, ease of purchase and that. So yeah, as for like a sourcing tool specifically related to the question was asked, I think there's just so much that goes into that, because you got to think like, what would the tool, what would the tool be of, like, how would you use the tool, right? It would be maybe something like, hey, look for, Kiehl's products that are on Amazon and then find them cheaper for me on retail websites. And then it's like, okay, well, there are so many websites that have the product. How does it understand which websites are fake or scams? And how does it understand the good websites, right? And then you got to think, there's sales happening for certain products. Are they incorporating like gift cards to get your percentage down? Are they incorporating, maybe an extra right? Sometimes if you get rewards, you spend money at Ulta, right? If you spend enough money at Ulta, you get rewards dollars. Like, how do you incorporate that? Like, are there all these metrics you have to input? Kind of like ChatGPT, right? Like where you have to like type in stuff to get your response. But the more specific you are, the better your response you get. Like, do you have to put in all these metrics to even get the right products in front of you? And then you have to determine, it's kind of like a more advanced, to me, it's like a more advanced version of tactical arbitrage, if there were to be something. But again, tactical arbitrage is very limited and it only uses like now data. It doesn't, it's like, okay, it's finding this product. Okay, well, this product here, when you add a 20% discount, is cheaper. And then you find the direct listing on Amazon and you can say, oh, it's got to be under 200K rank. Like, I get that, but I just feel like that tool is so advanced. Maybe at some point that'll come out, but there's just, like you said, there's too much human involved, like too much like human aspect to it that would, how do you like incorporate that into a software that can do so much of that? Because it is a lot of like, yeah, you can find the products for you, but you still have to do a bunch of analysis. You can't just buy it assuming that the Keepa chart looks good, or assuming that it's not easy to find in stores, right? If they're finding all these products and it's obvious like a Kiehl's site-wide sale, like, I don't know. I just don't. I just that tool just seems so advanced, and there's so many different aspects to it because there is. I mean, when you're sourcing, there's a million different things to think about before you actually purchase. So I don't know. It would be cool to have some sort of tool, but even like I've played around with, and obviously like ChatGPT is not real time data, but I'm like, find products on Walmart are cheaper on Walmart that have a direct match on Amazon, right? Like they can't do that, but like that would at least give you like maybe a list of products, and then you'd still have to go through and determine if the rank is good and how many sellers are on those listings. Like maybe that intermediate tool is there, but that's kind of what tactical arbitrage does. It's just maybe like less steps to get the products list. I don't know.
I think definitely there. I think there's things that we can't even fathom that will be out there. I really do. But also, there's so much more to a winning product than it being less expensive. If
Yep.
you're buying something less expensive at a horrible time, it doesn't matter, right? And if you pay a higher price for something, not necessarily, or just retail price for something, but that it's the right time because you know how to read Keepa. So for those reasons, like I'm sure there will be tools that, if used properly, can benefit. Like I'm sure. I'm thinking it's going to be anything is going to have AI versions of it, right? But
Yep.
but there's just so much more to it than just finding the lowest price, or even discrepancy of, hey, find me at lower than. There's a lot of things lower than Amazon, but you have to factor in shipping and your fees and all of that stuff. And again, supply and demand. It's not just finding the cheapest products. It's finding the right products at the right price at the right time, amongst other things. How much stock does your competition have? But I'll say this, both topics, AI and with Keel's closing. I mean, like, I really enjoy Amazon, and I think it's an amazing opportunity. I mean, I put in work every day, but I probably average 3 hours of sourcing 5 or 6 days a week at this point. And if that's all I did, like, I could live a simple life and like literally do it off of Amazon, right? And be fine, but I share all that to say it's always a reminder that, like, you don't know the future. And like, for me personally, I don't have long-term, like, lifetime vision of Amazon. I'm going to ride it until the wheels fall off. Technology is changing. I'm going to go hard and, as long as I can, but I'm not going to be shocked if a day comes 5 years from now, and that's 5, 10 years from now, might be realistic, that say, hey, that was an awesome run, and that's it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't get caught up in that, but I think these are just two good reminders of, like, that day may come, so, like, maybe once you get to a point, take some of your earnings and don't just reinvest it into Amazon. Maybe I always use a rental property as an example because it's an appreciating asset. But yeah, I mean, whatever works for you. But ultimately, we're on somewhat of borrowed time.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, Amazon can pull any of your favorite brands at any point without really any warning, and you're just going to have to live with it. And that's, it's always been like that with Amazon. You kind of have to just roll with the punches whenever they happen. I mean, they're on, I think tomorrow they're releasing the new fee structure on sending to different warehouses, which is really annoying. But again, for me, because of the quantities I'm purchasing, probably makes more sense to just send it all to one warehouse. Maybe I think they have options for single warehouse, 2 to 3 warehouses, and then over 4 or more. And I had for my shipment today, I only sent out like maybe 75 units. It was a small one, but when I on Inventory Lab, I went in and I selected, or I wanted it to create the shipment for me, and it had 7 different warehouses to send to, and 2 of the shipments of 2 of the 7 had 1 unit in it. I'm like, well, to ship that, right? It's a small box, but it's still going to cost me $5-6 to ship. So that's
Right.
all the profit I was going to make on that one item. So luckily I was able to go back and actually go into Amazon, change my settings to send it to one warehouse still, and then it made it into one hazmat shipment and one, of all the rest of the items. So
Yeah.
yeah, Amazon's always changing, but at this point we've learned to adapt enough where these little things here, like a Kiehl's closed down or a Clinique closed down, isn't going to rattle us too much, because we just know that stuff's gonna happen, and if you can deal with it, great. You're gonna come out better on top, and probably have more skills to be able to pivot when this kind of stuff happens.
Yeah, and by the way, you just touched on something. Since you mentioned it, I want to bring it up. One tip for anyone that does inventory lab: always, always, always have the setting that it goes to multiple destinations. You can create a shipment like you just did, see where it breaks it up in inventory lab, and if it's too many breakups, like you just mentioned, you can decline the shipment,
Yep.
go to Amazon, then change it to one warehouse, and then
It'll update quick enough, where you can.
Yep. Never commit to it ahead of time. And then, like you said, 7 shipments. So that's 6 extra, because you could have put them all in one box, right?
Yeah, it wasn't a ton of units.
So now you're talking $30-$40 plus supplies and just like the annoyance. So at that time, it's just like, well, you're damned one. You might as well just make your life easy, even if it's a little more expensive, in my opinion, and just put it all in one box. Like yep. I just think that's easier. And by the way, even if they split them up, I don't think it guarantees that it's going to end up in that warehouse and stay in that warehouse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, could still hit FC transfer, whether it goes all to one or goes to 3 or 4 different ones. So yeah. I didn't honestly, I didn't know that you could change it and then it would update an inventory lab fast enough for you to like not have to go through with the shipment.
Yeah,
I was
like instant. It's like
yeah, it's really nice. I was like really bummed because I'm like, dang, I got to send 2 boxes with one item in there, and it's going to 2 different warehouses. What a waste, right? It's wasting my time prepping the box. It's wasting my time putting the label on. It's wasting my supplies finding boxes, right?
Right.
And then I just have to carry more boxes into the post office. All these little things that are messing with the efficiency of how much time I'm using, but. Totally. Yeah, that's a good idea. Start with multiple, right? Because maybe that same 75 shipment on a different day or whatever it is, different items.
Yeah,
only go into 2 different warehouses and they have 2 boxes, right? Then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to save the extra fee that it takes to ship it to one warehouse when it's already going to be only a couple,
right?
So, and I think depending on, I don't know if it's a specific unit count. I've heard 18 units, and they'll usually go to the same warehouse. So if you are shipping, larger quantities of products, that might help you as well. But
yeah.
Some
questions?
Yeah. Stephanie, that was your question. Good stuff. Yeah, it's it'll be AI will definitely be interesting. But have either of you started selling on Walmart? I have not.
Okay, so I have not. I would say it's probably a good idea. I mean, I'm really big on, even if nothing else, think about things that you get returned or things you're gated in, that maybe you're not on Walmart. I think it's great that there's going to be more competition. I think competition's better for us as sellers. And I think it's like this is a random example that popped in my mind, but just to use like a comparison, think about the early adapters of TikTok, right? Or the first people to use Instagram. Whenever there's a new social media platform that gets really big, there's an advantage to being first, because you're competing with less people for the same amount, for a growing number of eyeballs, right? Walmart, you're going to have so much less competition than Amazon right now. Granted, you're going to have a lot less buyers, I would imagine, too. But I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's very overlapping skill set. The only thing I would say is that, like, from my experience, if you diversify yourself or put your attention into too many things, they all get watered down. And so, like, it's just started crossing my mind, to be honest. I actually applied, I think, last year, and I don't know why I got denied. But as Amazon, you see the Kiehl's thing and fees go up and this and that. And by the way, like, I think Amazon's incredible, so I don't care about that stuff. I don't think it could really hurt. And I think it probably makes a lot of sense for anyone that has this skill set.
Yep. Yeah, Walmart's a great option if you can get in. I hear it is hard to get in. So one of those things. We'll answer these last couple questions and then wrap
Yep.
up the call here. But Miguel said he shipped through Seller Central, only split to 2 warehouses, stopped shipping through IL. Yeah, I think there's, like I said, there's settings you can change, and IL is a great tool. But if you don't find use in it, well, why use it? 6 split last week through IL. Yeah, like I said, you can definitely change that in your settings. And I think if I read the email right, Amazon said that it's tomorrow. It takes effect the fees for multi-warehouse. And if you select 4 or more, you have no fee. I think it's if you do one single warehouse this is just for standard products. There's different fees for farther down the line. If I'm remembering, it's like 24 cents per product. So it's like, well, just kind of tack on another 23 cents and move on,
Yeah.
Why are some of my listings active on Seller Central, but I don't see those listings when I go as a customer to buy it? It's only Amazon and Buy Box, and the see other options to buy is not anywhere.
So active and having inventory are two different things, right? So like if I create a shipment and send it into Amazon, usually relatively soon that item will be active. But you should see an inventory column if you're looking at your inventory in Seller Central. If it says 0 and typically has like a drop down, then you can see, I think it says like reserved, in transit, you know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so active and lot and inventory are two different things. Okay. So that can be where some confusion is. Cause if it is live, and even sometimes when it's en route, you should be able to see yourself when you look at the product or on the listing.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. If it's not quite, even if it's an FC transfer, it could still show up. You'll just see like, ships in 7 to 10 days. Like obviously they're not going to put you as the buy box unless you're the only one.
Right.
They want somebody to have access to purchasing. But if there's other sellers that are in stock and have the 2-day shipping, then they're going to use those. Last question from Stephanie, and last question for us. As we work through older videos, do you get more money if I watch the ads? I tend to skip, but I will watch if that helps. Watch time always helps. Watch time always helps. I don't know if skipping ahead assume that watch time, or does it not?
So first off, at this stage, probably I'll speak for both of us. The amount that we get from like YouTube is so minuscule that it doesn't matter. And that's very kind of you. So thank you. But I think you can only skip through an ad after like it allows you to skip it. They force you to watch like 5 seconds. Yep. So the advertiser, whatever their arrangement is, my understanding is probably that they're paying you, they factor in watch time, but whether you watch skip the ad once you're through your obligatory amount of time, I don't think it matters. I think the watch time is really watching your video, because you can't get around a certain amount of ads. You know what I mean? So again, very kind of you, but do not worry about it. In my opinion, just go through them as fast as you can.
Yeah. Just get the content out of it. We'll deal with the watch time in another time. But All right. Well, great list of questions from the chat today. It was a fun discussion on AI and the Keels banning. I think like I said, if like we both said, if the Keels regate is affecting your business a bunch, then I think the next step is for you to work on diversifying, really understand as many different brands as you can, right? Maybe you still have a couple favorites that you're really good at and you understand the listings and the sales cycles, but don't put all your eggs in one basket, because chances are, if something happens, you're going to get burned the worst. If you're diversified, you buy a bunch of different products, you have a couple brands you go a little deeper on, but mostly you're buying a larger set of products, you're going to be better off when this type of stuff happens. So
yeah, no, I agree. And also I just want to say that, like, I think opportunities like this are, it's easy to hear people moan and groan and like say Amazon's this, Amazon's that. Like, as somebody who has come from, I've had a corporate job, I have a business outside of this, there's nothing in the world where you can start for $500, have access to 100 bazillion active sellers, have access to their trucks, their brand, their, you know what I mean? Like this is, we have it good. Like there's thousands of other brands out there. Don't let outside noise affect you. There's still so much opportunity out there. You know, one step back, two step forwards if necessary. And if it doesn't directly affect you, let it just sit in your mind. It could one day. So like I said earlier, always allow a portion of your sourcing to be for new things to come across your plate.
Exactly. All right. That's a nice little chat to end on here. But if you guys don't already, go subscribe to both, mine and Jonathan's channel, AC Flips, Duke Does Amazon. Follow us on Instagram, DM us on Instagram, or I guess comment on this video if you have topics for next week. We've basically been making this a weekly live here on Thursday nights. So tune in if you guys are around. But anyways, we appreciate all of you for watching us and sticking with us, those people through the entire live, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. Have a good night, guys.